Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, today we have the compensatory lecture for the one we missed during the first week since we started the sessions. Last lecture we talked about phonological rules, processes, and automations. This is chapter 9. And we started talking about the three terms and difference between them, alternations, what do you mean by this, processes, and rules. And then also we talked about phonological conditioning, morphological conditioning, and we said that the alternations are either phonetically conditioned or morphologically conditioned, and sometimes both. They are phonetically and morphologically conditioned, and also lexically conditioned, and we gave examples from English. Alternations, and how we give we name the process, and then we state the rule in a form of a statement or in linguistic notation or formula. Another point that is left here in this chapter, there is another process called suppletion. And this when you have non-phonological alternations. Non-phonological alternations meaning they are not determined by the phonological environment or the phonetic environment. So here, for example, in English, we have the word for mouse. Its plural form is mouse. Mouses or mice, we say mice. We don't say mouses. We don't add the regular S, but it has another form which is mice. The verb go, its past tense is went, but we don't say goed. So went here, if you notice that it's completely a form that does not look like go. We don't have the sound even g, and we don't have the o. We have went. Again, the same goes for good. In the comparative case, we say better. We don't say gooder. So all these forms that are not related phonologically, they are examples of what is called suppletion. These are suppletive forms. So here we have no phonetic conditioning to help us predict, the occurrence of such forms. Also, there are no phonological processes involved here. We cannot say the occurrence of this form is determined by the preceding sound or the following sound or occurring between two sounds, etc. In Arabic also and in some other languages we have the same cases of forms of suppletion. Like for example the word imra'a fil Arabi, its plural form is not imra'at. We don't say imra'at. We don't add the inflection at like waraqqa, waraqat, mudarrisa, mudarrisat, etc. طالبة, طالبات. ولكن هنا امرأة, we don't say imra'at, we say nisa. It's a completely different form. أو نسوة, نساء أو نسوة. It has no relation to the word imra'a. So no phonetic conditioning and no phonological processes taking place here. So this is a suppletive form in this case here in Arabic, or similar to the ones in English. Now let's talk about the classification of phonological rules. The classification of phonological rules. Now we said the phonological rule can be stated in a form of a statement, regular words in English. You can write the rule like, for example, the alveolar na becomes ang velar because it is followed by velar. Or we can write it in linguistic notation by using the slants and the arrow and the square brackets, and then we set the environment again, depending on the environment. If it is the sound is determined, or the change is determined by the preceding sound or the following sound, etc. Now let's talk about the types of phonological rules. We have major kinds. So in general, we say we have assimilation, we have dissimilation, we have insertion, and we have deletion. Now let's talk about each one. We'll start with assimilation. We'll look at the definition and then the types of assimilatory rules. Assimilation is a phonetic process in which a sound becomes more like a neighboring sound with respect to some feature or features. So it's a phonetic process in which a sound becomes more like a neighboring sound with respect to a feature or some features, more than one feature. This assimilation process actually it's very common. It's natural and it's widespread. You find it in all languages, and we call it a feature changing rule because either we have a change in the voicing feature, for example, a voice sound becoming voiceless, and or vice versa, or in the place of articulation, an alveolar sound becomes bilabial because it is followed by bilabial, an alveolar sound becomes velar because it is followed by velar. Or we have a change in the manner of articulation, like for example, a change from a fricative to stop or any other feature related to the manner of articulation. We can have more than one classification for assimilatory types here. We can have the major one, which is partial assimilation and total assimilation. Partial assimilation, like for example here, the word ink and five pence. In ink, the na here is not produced as na, but as ink. So here we have a change from an alveolar na to velar ink because of what? If you check the environment here, the following sound is ka. The following sound is ka. It's followed by the ka, which is also velar. 5 in isolation ends with v. 5 in isolation ends with v. But if you add pence to it, you are going to produce it as 5 pence. 5 pence. We don't produce v, but we say fa. Why? Because now the neighboring sound is pa. The neighboring sound is pa. Va is voiceless, pa is voiceless. They are going to assimilate to each other, so the ba is going to influence the va. Then we have the change to fa. So va voiced becoming fa voiceless because the following sound here is voiceless, which is pa. Total assimilation, when you have identicality here, we have a case of identicality. You produce two sounds as if they are one. For example, if you look at this example, here we have horse and then shoe. If you produce the two in isolation, horse, it ends with sa, shoe begins with sha. Now try to produce the two words together. The two words together, you are going to say horseshoe. We don't say horseshoe. Horseshoe. If you try to produce the sa and the sha together, you feel difficulty in producing the sounds. But automatically, when you produce the two words, you're going to produce actually one sound. A horseshoe, which is sha. And as if we have sa and sha becoming identical, and they are produced as one sound. The same case in this sugar. This in isolation ends with sa. Sugar begins with sha. Try to produce the two together as one unit. You are going to say this sugar, this sugar. So here, this is similar to the case in Arabic. We have al-lam al-shamsiyya wal-lam al-qamariyya. Al-shams. We don't say al-shams. We say ash-shams. It's not like al-qamar. We produce the la and we produce the qa. But in the case of ash-shams, we don't produce the la. We say ash-shams. Ash-shams. Al-talib. Al-rajul. It's the same case as in horseshoe and this sugar. So here in Arabic, the la sound assimilates to the following sound, becomes identical with it, and we have a case of total assimilation. Also, we can classify assimilation into regressive assimilation and progressive assimilation. Like the case in ink, here we have regressive assimilation. The ka influences the preceding sound and the la, and it makes it in. In play, here the la voice becomes voiceless because the preceding sound here. So here the pa influences the la. So here we have progressive assimilation. Voice assimilation is another type here. It's a general type also. Here when we have the change from voice to voiceless or vice versa from voiceless to voiced. For example, in English we have the word news. It ends with the. But when you add paper, and we have the word newspaper, the za is no longer a za, it produced as sa, newspaper. So here we have a change from za to sa, voice to voiceless, because it is followed by pa, which is voiceless. Now the za is its neighboring sound is pa, voiceless. So that's why it assimilates to it. So the change becomes from za to sa, from voice to voiceless, because the following sound is voiceless, which is the ta here. Place assimilation, when the change takes place in the place of articulation. Like, for example, a change from an alveolar sound to a velar sound, an alveolar sound to a bilabial, alveolar sound to palatal, for example. I give you an example here from Arabic, the word anbar, noon, para. The word anbar, this which has a nice smell. We don't say anbar, we say ambar, as if we write it with a and then ma. What we actually write is a and then noon, but what we actually produce is a and ma. So here we have the change from na alveolar to ma bilabial, because it is followed by bilabial sound. Similar to important, if you remember, improbable, the na again becomes bilabial because it is followed by bilabial sound. Now let's look at the assimilatory processes and rules. We'll start with the voicing rule. The voicing rule. Here we have the change from a voiceless sound to a voiced sound. This happens if the sound occurs before or after voiced consonants. Either it is going to be preceded or followed. It depends on the lexical item in which the sound occurs. Remember the examples that has the S plural, like dogs and dolls and mops and doves. Here we have the S plural, sa becomes a za, or it is produced or realized as za. Sa becomes a za when it is followed, when it is preceded here by a voiced consonant. Here we have the ga and the la and the pa and the va. All of these are voiced sounds, and that's why we produce the S plural as z. Dogs, dolls, mobs, doves. Also, we have the change from a voiceless sound to a voiced sound when it occurs between two vowels. And here we call this position intervocalic position. And the type is going to be called intervocalic voicing. Like, for example, present and present or resent. Here the sound sa occurs between two vowels, but what we actually produce is za. So sa becomes za, voiceless to voice, because it occurs between two vowels, or we say in intervocalic position. Devoicing rule. Devoicing rule. Here we have the opposite. The voice sound becomes voiceless. The voice sound becomes voiceless. Like, for example, in Arabic, if you look at the word habs and the word lips, for example, the ba here, the ba, we know that the ba in Arabic is voice. We don't have the soft ba. But here we have it, in this particular examples, we have it as an allophone. We have the realization of the soft ba or the voiceless fa. Why? Because here the neighboring sound is sa. We know that the sa is voiceless and the ba is voice. So the sa affects or influences the ba, and here we have the change from voiced ba to voiceless fa. Habs, lips. If you look at English, the previous example we talked about, which is 5, ends with va, but we add pence, 5 pence. The va is produced as fa because the neighboring sound is a voiceless consonant, which is pa. So here we have a case of assimilation in relation to voicing, a voiced sound becoming voiceless. Or in other words, we say we devoice the sound. We devoice the sound. The same here we have in this example, have and have followed by to. We say have to, I have to go, I have to go. The va is not produced as va, we produce it as fa, again because the following sound here is ta, voiceless. So here we have the change, and because of this we have the change from va, voiced, to fa, voiceless. Always the liquids and the glides are devoiced whenever they have neighboring sounds, like the pa, for example, which is voiceless, the sa, which is voiceless. Here we have play and we have swing. If you notice here the small circle under the la and the small circle under the glide wa, to show that these two sounds have been devoiced. So they change from voice to voiceless. Why? Because they are preceded by voiceless consonant in play, which is the pa, and in swing the sound sa. Now we talk about vowel nasalization. We talked about it so many times in the previous lectures, but let's repeat this again. And here in this type of process, the vowel, we know that all the vowels in English are oral sounds. All the vowels in English are oral sounds. In some cases, or in certain environments, they change to a nasal one. Or in other words, we say the vowel is nasalized. The vowel is nasalized in a particular environment when it is followed by a nasal consonant. When it is followed by a nasal consonant, or we can say before nasals. Look at seat and seen and seem. Try to feel the production of the E sound in the three examples. Seat, seen, seem. The E here is produced with nasality. The vowel is produced with nasality. Why? Because it is followed by na and followed by ma, and both are nasal consonants. So here we say that the rule says the E, which is minus nasal, meaning oral, becomes plus nasal. Why? Because here we say the environment. Look at the rule in linguistic notation. Because it is followed by consonant, here C, and then we put the feature underneath, plus nasal, plus nasal. So the oral E becomes nasalized when it is followed by a nasal consonant. So the rule is vowel nasalization, and the process also, vowel nasalization. Now we have another assimilatory process, and it is very common, it is widespread, you find it in so many languages, and this is palatalization. Palatalization. where we have in such this type of process, here we have the change from alveolars to alveopalatals. The alveolar consonants become alveopalatals or palatals, we say. Look at these examples from American English. We miss you. We miss you. According to the American pronunciation, we say we miss you. We have the change from sa to sha. Miss, instead of miss. To please you. To please you, and else with the za. But according to the American English, it is produced as we please you. To please you. Ja. So we have a change from za to ja. We want you. We want you. According to American English, it is produced as cha. We want you. We want you to come here. Cha becomes cha. Look at the following column. Did you go? Did you go? Here the da is produced as ja. Did you? Did you go? So here we have this case of assimilation, which is called palatalization. The sa, za, ta, and da, they form a natural class. All of them share the feature alveolar. They change into sha, ja, cha, and ja. Again, this group of sounds form a natural class, and they share the feature palatal. So here we have a change from alveolars to palatals. In what environment? If you check the data, you find the word miss and please and want and did. All of them are followed by the glide ya, or by the palatal ya. By the palatal ya. Look at the environment here, it's given. We put this lines, and then we have the long dash or line here for the environment, followed by the symbol for the sound ya. So here we have alveolars become palatals because they are followed by a palatal sound. Remember the example from Japanese, shimasu, which is produced as shimasu. Shimasu. The sa is alveolar, also becomes sha, similar to we miss you and we miss you, because here it is followed by the high front vowel E. The high front vowel E. It's not followed by a palatal, but because in the production of the E sound, again the tongue is raised near the palatal area, but it doesn't touch. Like the ya, also the tongue is raised. In Egyptian Arabic, we have a good example here from Egyptian Arabic. The word ukhti, احنا في الحجازي we don't say ukhti, we say ukhti. We produce the ta as ta. But the Egyptians produce this word as ukhti. Always the ta, when it is followed by e, it is produced as a palatal sound, sh. Instead of ta, becomes a cha. Like we want you in American English, ta becomes cha. Again, هنا أختي becomes أختي or produced as أختي. أبعدي. أبعدي. إحنا في الحجازي we produce the da as da in Hijazi Arabic. In Egyptian Arabic, the da is produced like cha, like the American example did you. Again, أعجي. أعجي. The da is produced as ja. Again here, the ta becomes a cha, and the da becomes ja. Alveolar is becoming palatal, because if you check the environment, the following sound is the high front tense vowel E, similar to the case of Japanese. Alveolar stop assimilation, another type. Alveolar stop assimilation. In this process, an alveolar stop immediately preceding a labial consonant takes the feature labial. It takes the feature of the place of articulation of the following sound. So here alveolar stops, they assimilate to the following sound and they take the same feature. Like for example here, impossible. Aslan in. The negative morpheme for not, it stands for it gives this meaning. In for, it means not. But in some words like possible, if you want to, we don't say impossible, we say impossible. So the na here, alveolar, becomes bilabial, ma, because it is followed by a bilabial. So it takes the feature of the following sound, which is labiality here. Wide and width. Wide and width. In this noun, the da here, alveolar, the da is an alveolar stop, it's alveolar, but here in width it is produced as a dental sound. The tip of the tongue does not touch the alveolar ridge the same way as in da. But because it is followed by the interdental tha, again here the da takes some of this feature which is dentality, so that's why here we use this diacritic under the da. So the da alveolar becomes da dental because it is followed by a dental tha. In this, again here the na alveolar becomes dental also because it is followed by the dental da. So here we define the process and we gave examples and the rules. Okay, I'll leave vowel harmony later. I'll talk about it later. Let's talk about the assimilation rules. Vowel harmony is also assimilation, but it's a type of assimilation that we call distance assimilation. I'll leave it after we finish this part. Dissimilation rules. Such type of rules actually cause two neighboring sounds to become less alike with respect to some features. The dissimilation rules cause two neighboring sounds to become less alike, which is opposite to the assimilation. In assimilation, they cause two sounds to be more alike. But in dissimilation rules, the two neighboring sounds become less alike with respect to some features. And the causes for this are not known. And actually, this type of rule is not common. Less common than assimilation. We have here one example we give here, which is manner dissimilation, where we have here the change from a fricative to a stop when following a fricative. For example, the word fifth, here we have the sa, it's preceded by the fricative fa. So in the production of this word, we produce it as fifth. If you listen to many British and people speak English or using English, especially in Britain, they say fifth instead of fifth. So here the ta fricative is produced as ta, a stop. This is dissimilation. The cause is not known. Known. And here we have a change in the manner of articulation. The fa becomes a ta, or it is realized as ta after a fricative. Insertion. Insertion, in this process, a segment that is not, or a sound segment that is not present at the phonological level is added at the phonetic level. when we produce the phonetic form of the word. So the sound segment was not there, but then we added it. Like, for example, we have voiceless stop insertion, dance, the word dance. Many people produce it as dance, dance. They insert a ta between the na and the sa. The na, the ta is inserted between the na and the sa. Why here the ta in particular? It's not ha, it's not la, it's not ra, it's not fa. If you check the preceding sound and the following sound, na is alveolar, sa is alveolar, so it's easy to produce, to add or insert another alveolar sound. So we can say dance, dance. The tongue is kept there for the three consonants. Hamster, hamster. While producing if you look at the spelling, here we don't have a pa. But what we actually produce is a pa after the ma. Hamster, hamster. Here the pa is inserted. Why? Because the preceding sound is a bilabial. Here we don't say hamster or hamster or hamster, but since we insert a pa, this comes naturally and spontaneously. The pa here is inserted, it's a bilabial consonant because the preceding sound is bilabial. So for the ease of articulation, it's easy to insert the pa here. Idea, again, many people produce idea as idea. They insert a ra or they add a ra at the end. Wish, they say wished, they insert a ta. All these are examples of insertion. The ta and the ba and the ra and the ta were not there at the phonological level, but at the phonetic level they are realized. Empty, empty, the word empty, we write it E-M-P-T-Y in modern English. In the past, in the old English period, the word used to be written as with the letters E-M-T-Y, no pa. But because people kept using or producing the word with a pa, like hamster, empty, 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 through the ages and through the years, now even the pa is not only produced but also written as a letter. And it became part of the orthography of English. In Hijazi Arabic, if you notice أهل مكة بالذات الكبار في السن العجائز, old people, instead of hummus, they say humbus, humbus. Humbus, they insert the pa here. Why in particular the pa? Because the ma is preceding, which is bilabial. These types of insertion can be given, some terms like epithesis, which is adding a consonant in a final position, like in Old English period, and if you compare it to the modern English period, where we have the word sound and the word round, sound and round, they end with a da. But in the past, in the English period or in Old English, they were written as S-O-U-N without the da. But again, because people kept producing the da at the end, it became part of the writing system also. The same goes for across, wish, wished, and idea, idea. Epenthesis, when we add a vowel or a consonant in any position but not initially, in medial position or in final position but not initial. Like in Hijazi Arabic, we have hummus, humbus, and we add vowels always for words like, for example, shahr. Al-Masriyin يقولوا shahr. As Hijazi people, we say shahr. We insert a vowel between the ha and the ra at the end. Samn, we don't say end it with a cluster, but we break this cluster by inserting a vowel. We say samin. Furun, film. We do the same thing. We insert a vowel to break the cluster at the end. Processes, here we add a vowel in initial position. Like for example in Spanish and also in Arabic, when you produce borrowed words like Spain and school, we say España. España, we insert S. If the word begins with an S followed by a consonant. Again for school, we say Rahul is school. School, we insert before the sa and the. So here we write 0, and then we put, when we write the rules, we write 0, the symbol for the 0 in linguistics, and then we put the arrow, and then the sound that has been inserted, which is here, España, escola, when it is followed by a word beginning with S and followed by a consonant. Deletion is a process where we eliminate or we delete a sound. At the phonological level, the sound is there, but at the phonetic level, it's deleted or it's eliminated. Mostly, this applies to unstressed syllables in casual speech. So we say X goes to 0. For example, the deletion in unstressed syllables in words with unstressed syllables in English. If you look at he handed her his hat, when I read it slowly, I'm going to produce all the hats here. He handed her his hat. But if I produce the whole utterance, as I do in natural speech, sometimes we have certain speed, you are going to say, he handed her his hat. He handed her his hat. I'm not producing the ha in her, and I'm not producing the ha in his. These are deleted. Why? Because these two words are not stressed. But we have the ha in he, and the ha in handed, and the ha in hat produced. The rah deletion. The rah deletion. In British English, they mostly delete the rah when it occurs in a final position. They say her father, her father. It's not like the Americans when they say a father. They produce the rah. Mostly they delete it whenever it occurs in a final position. But in some utterances, if the rah it's not anymore in a final position, but it is followed by another word that begins with a vowel, here it is realized. Like, for example, her father arrived. Her father, and then followed by arrived. You cannot say her father arrived. Her father arrived. Because of the vowel here, we are going to produce the ra. So here the ra is not deleted when followed by a vowel. Actually, it is produced. Vowel deletion also occurs in unstressed syllables, especially in having a vowel preceding a liquid. Words like police and believe. Police and believe. If you notice here, these two words consist of two syllables. Police. Police. If you look at the first syllable, it's the schwa here. And look at the change here when we delete the schwas because of these unstressed syllables. We say the police, I believe, I pl, not I believe, I believe. So here the first, the vowel in the first syllable is deleted. Alveolar deletion. Sometimes we delete the alveolar da and the alveolar ta in utterances like you and me, you and me. If I'm stressing it, I'm going to say you and me, producing the da. But if I'm not stressing it, usually we drop the da. We say you and me, you and me. You must be here. You must be here. The ta here is dropped, is deleted. If you are stressing must, you're going to say you must be here. You must be here. Otherwise, if there is no stress on this, then I'm going to, the ta and the da are going to be zero. They are not produced. Other processes also, here we have aspiration. We talked about aspiration in so many examples previously. Before this, the strengthening rule, because actually aspiration gives strength to some sounds. When we produce sounds, when they occur in initial position, the pa, ta, ka in particular, the pa, ta, ka, they are produced with aspiration. When they occur initially in a stressed syllable, when they are followed by a stressed vowel. Flapping, again, the flapping is considered a weakening rule because it weakens the sound, or a weakening process because it weakens the sound. It's not like aspiration. Aspiration gives more strength to the sound. Here, in the case of flapping, alveolar stops become a flap between vowels. They occur in intervocalic position between two vowels. Like, for example, letter, we say the American, especially in the American accent, we say letter, letter, instead of letter. If you say letter, there is no assimilation at all. But if you say letter, and again ladder, ladder, wedding for wedding, and betting for betting, here we have a change from ta to a flap, or da to a flap, and the environment here occurring between two vowels. Reduplication. In this process, usually we copy a part of a word and then attach it to the original word. Like, for example, willy-nilly, helter-skelter, wee-wee, poo-poo, hunky-bunky, hupply-pupply, all these words, walkie-talkie, all these are reduplication. When we repeat, reduplicate one of the parts of the word. Metathesis. In this process, the sounds segments position actually is reordered, or we say this is the process in which we reorder the segments or transpose their place or their position. So the transposition of sounds. When you have two neighboring sounds, or sometimes they're not neighbors, but you are going to reorder their position. You're going to put them in another way. Like, for example, ask. Ask. Many people produce it as axe in casual speech. Tragedy, many people say tragedy instead of tragedy. The da and the ga here. We have the transition of the da and the da and the ga. Relevant, again it is produced as relevant. Relevant. So here we have transposition of the sound la and the sound va. We have similar examples in Arabic. We have mil'aga, many people say mi'laga. Aranib, many people say anarib. Jawaz, which is aslan zawaj, it should be zawaj. We say jawaz. Again here we have transition of the ja and the za. Jaws, which is also should be zoj, but what we produce is jaws. Falsafa, it is produced by so many people as falfasa. Falfasa instead of falsafa. In Egyptian Arabic, also we find examples like hufra. Hufra, it is produced as fuhra by the Egyptians. And masrah is produced as marsah. Again here we have the transition or the ordering of the sound ra and the sa. And in fuhra, the fa and the ra, the fa and the ha, is changed. So these are all examples of metathesis. Vowel lengthening. Vowel lengthening here, again, we talked about this so many times, and we gave so many examples from English. Here the vowel is lengthened when it occurs before voice consonants, or it is shortened before voiceless consonants like sheet and seek and leaf in comparison with seed, seam, and leaf. We can notice the lengthening and also the shortening of the vowels. Sound substitution. Sound substitution. Here we have the sound is replaced by another sound if it does not exist in the speaker's sounds inventory. For example, in French, the word, if we have a French person learning English, for example, the production of the word thin by this person is going to be sin. Then it's going to be produced as then. Because the and the are not available in the French sound system. So here we have a process of substitution or replacement, sound substitution. The th is replaced by sa and the da is replaced by za. If we compare English to Arabic, if we have an English person learning Arabic, in the sound system of English we don't have kha, we don't have the pharyngeal sa'a and ha, and we don't have the harf of dad. So all these sounds are going to be substituted or replaced by other sounds by this English speaker. For example, Khali is going to be produced as Kali, and Ali is going to be produced as Ali, and Halawa is going to be produced as Halawa. Darab is going to be produced as Darab. All these rules are actually obligatory, and some of them are optional. So these rules, not all of them are obligatory, but some are obligatory and some are optional. Like for example, aspiration, it's obligatory, so it's not up to you to produce this sound with aspiration or without aspiration. But here you are determined by the environment. Vowel nasalization also. Automatically the vowel is nasalized whenever it is followed by a nasal consonant. The same for vowel lengthening. The vowel is lengthened when it is followed by a voiced consonant. It is shortened when it is followed by a voiceless consonant. Liquid and glide devoicing. We know the liquids and the glides are voiced consonants, but actually they are devoiced whenever they are preceded by voiceless consonant. Again, this is obligatory. Palatalization. Palatalization, it's optional. Like ukhti, we can say ukhti, we can say ukhti. I miss you and I miss you. So it's optional here. It's not obligatory. You should produce the ta as a palatal sound, but you can produce it either as a palatal or as an alveolar sound. So this type of rule or process is optional. It's not obligatory. All these processes are actually responsible for the variation we have in our speech, and it depends on the rate and the style of and the speed and the style of speech. Why do we have phonological rules? Why do we have phonological rules? Here we can provide two reasons. Some rules make sequences of sounds easier to produce or to pronounce, like can be, we can say can be. Some make sounds easier to perceive when you receive them via the ear. You make this easier when the sound is produced in a certain environment, like amber, and the aspiration of the sound, because it makes it stronger, so it's going to be clear and you can hear it clearly. It's easy to receive it. As when voiceless stops are aspirated at the beginning of the stressed syllable. Insertions and dissimulations also contribute to ease of articulation and perception as well. So all the processes, the phonological processes and the rules contribute to the ease of articulation and ease of perception. One thing I want to say here, and it's very important, when you study the phonological rules we have just talked about, I want you to study from both your main textbook, Introducing Phonetics and Phonology by Hannes, and also from language files. There is a whole section on phonological rules, because some of these rules are not found in your main textbook, but you can take them from language files. So please study from both and also keep the slides. Okay, next time we'll talk about formal rules and rule writing. Quickly, we're going to revise the part we have just covered today, and we'll start talking about how to write the rules in linguistic notation, or how to formalize the rule. How to formalize the rule. Instead of writing a statement, you're going to write me the rule using the slants and the arrows and the square brackets and the slants and the dash, the long dash, and how to put the environment, where to locate the sound that determines the change. Is it determined, the change determined by a preceding sound or a following sound? Does this happen because it occurs initially or finally? Does it occur between two vowels, for example? What about the features? Are we going to add the features to show the direction of the change and the type of the change? We'll talk about this, inshallah, next time, and I'll allow you some time to do some exercises because I want you to be trained on how to write the rules this way. I don't know why nobody attended the class today, but inshallah next time we'll go over it very quickly, and we'll continue talking about formal writing. This is part of chapter 9, and we'll do some exercises as well. So that's enough for today. I'll stop here. See you inshallah Monday, and by giving this lecture, now I gave you 4 lectures. This is the compensatory class for the one we missed during the first week. Assalamu alaikum.